tuning into Ag PhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. I do some continuous corn on some ground that I own, and one of the big concerns I have is corn rootworm control. We're going to talk about managing corn rootworm both with traits and without.
Well, one of the really big concerns for us on our farm every year, besides just this corn on corn issue, is the fact that we don't have irrigation and we're in a very dry area of the country. So how are we going to manage our crop? How are we going to drought-proof our crop? We'll talk about that today.
We'll also talk about how to control a tough weed. It's our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop it later in the show, but first, here's today's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
One of the most important things that any farmer can do is make sure he has good drainage on his farm. So how a lot of farmers will do that is by adding tile to their land. Well, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. If it's done the right way, tile is great for the environment. The reason why I bring this up today is if you're looking for information on tile, even if you've tiled for many years, there's lots of new technology, lots of new information, new techniques that you can learn, and we're going to talk about all those with a number of different guests at the Ag PhD Tiling Clinic. It's a free event that you can come to in Brookings, South Dakota. It's Wednesday, March 4th.
One other reason that many farmers come to our tile clinic is not necessarily to learn how to install tile. They may have been doing it for years, but just to hear, how do you talk to the neighbors? What are the stats? What are the studies that have been done recently that I can cite to encourage my neighbors that, hey, look, here's some research that was done, and this shows how tile is going to help stop erosion for us. It's going to also improve our water quality that's going into the river, this kind of thing. If you can share those types of stats with your neighbors, with non-farmers that are in your area, it just helps because we have to communicate what we're doing on the farm. We know we're doing the right things on our farm, but if nobody else knows about it, it doesn't do us any good. And then when non-farmers, who are 99% or more of the population, are setting the rules for us, well, they're concerned. Oh boy, farmers are using fertilizers and herbicides out in their field. Is this safe? And is the water coming out of their fields going to be safe for me? Well, in fact, the truth is the water coming out of our tile lines, when we test this water, it's drinking water standards. Well, if it's drinking water standards, there's really nothing to be worried about.
At the Ag PhD Tile Clinic, we'll have a number of different guest speakers, including one of the top drainage lawyers in the country. Not that we encourage you to sue your neighbor or anything like that, but you've got to at least understand what the laws are and how best to work with some of your neighbors.
Well, I think you need to know what your rights are, and that's a real key here. I mean, do you have the right to drain your land? Absolutely. Should you be a good neighbor and talk to your neighbor first? Yes, you should, and work with them, because many times if you're uphill from a neighbor that's downhill and you say, well, hey, I'm going to improve my drainage, that's going to mean the water's going to come to you in, this certain area of your field.
It's already getting there.
The water's already moving there below ground, and we just need to communicate with that neighbor. Hey, if I'm uphill from you and I've got a drainage problem, I know you've got a big drainage problem downhill, so let's work together on this. And that's really what we encourage farmers across our country to do, is work together more. There's not very many of us farmers in the whole country. We should be working together on these types of projects to make it better for everybody.
Well, I can just tell you that in the entire country, in fact, in North America, there's no single day event like this. So if you're looking for more information on tiling, whether you've tiled for years or you're just going to start getting into it, we really encourage you, please attend the free Ag PhD Tiling Clinic. It's Wednesday, March 4th in Brookings, South Dakota.
Well, one thing we won't really be focusing on that day is controlling our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?
What's next in weed control technology? Roundup Ready 2 Extend soybeans will provide tolerance to dicamba and glyphosate and will be built on the Genuity Roundup Ready to Yield trait. See them in action at extendfollowafield.com.
If you could see how nitrogen loss causes yield loss, you'd fix it. So fix it right, with the stabilizer proven to reduce all 3 ways nitrogen escapes. Nutrisphere N Nitrogen Fertilizer Manager. It keeps nitrogen in a more readily available form longer. With today's market and environment, it's a high priority to keep your nitrogen on track. To higher yield with Nutrisphere N.
Morton Buildings. Great buildings built for the great outdoors. Contact us today to take advantage of discount pricing during our annual Building Value Day sale.
For lower cost, higher production, Mandaco Agri leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. Twister's ease of maintenance is forgiving in rocks and has contour conformity equaling zero downtime. Our hydraulically adjusted coulter angles make residue management easier, less costly. Spring or fall, the Mandaco Twister vertical tillage unit is the new leader. See your Mandaco Agri dealer. Visit northcountrymarketing.biz or call.
We know that the future is liquid. That's how agriculture liquid fertilizer creates the highest quality products on the market. Because we're committed to finding the best raw materials at the best price possible and getting them from us to you in the most sustainable, responsible ways possible. Agriculture liquid fertilizers, helping you grow the future.
A proven herbicide for decades, dicamba can provide burn-down residual control of tough and resistant weeds for up to 14 days. That's another reason why farmers will use dicamba for years to come. Brought to you by Roundup Ready Plus Weed Management Solutions.
One of the most important things almost any farmer can do is try everything to drought-proof his crop. We're going to talk about some steps we would encourage you to take on your farm today.
All right, we just came out of 2012 and 2013 super drought years, and really 2014 we got almost all of our rain in the month of June, and then we were pretty dry outside of that for a good portion of the year. We're in an area of the country that's dry more times than not. Maybe you're in an area that you say, well, we normally get decent rains, but occasionally we have some dry areas of our field, or we have some dry times. Either way, you just have to look at how can you reduce stress in your crops, and just by doing a few simple steps, they can benefit your crop every year, but even more so if we get dry.
In my opinion, here's the most important thing. You've got to have good balanced fertility in your soil, because what happens with your crop is when it runs short on any one nutrient, what it's going to do is it's going to start pulling more water in. Even if it doesn't need water yet, it's going to start pulling more water in, because that's how the nutrients get into the plant. So in effect, you've made your crop a water waster. That's terrible. Don't do that to your crop. Have the right balance of nutrients and the right amount of nutrients in your soil. If you need help with that, get some soil testing done. Learn how to read a soil test. There's lots of good information out there, but all I can tell you is until you get your soil in balance and you have the right amount of nutrients out there, you're not going to have a very drought-tolerant crop.
Well, another thing when you're looking at tillage is something that actually releases moisture up out of the soil. So for our farm in a dry area of the country, we're trying to minimize our tillage to conserve moisture. Now, other areas of the country may be going to reduce till to try and preserve their soil and stop soil erosion. That's fine too. But if you are concerned about losing moisture and keeping all the moisture that you have, going to no-till or reduced tillage is certainly a method that can help you maintain that moisture level in your soil.
The next thing I want to get to is fertilizer placement. If you put all your fertilizer in a broadcast and then you do minimum till or no-till, guess what? You've got nutrient stratification, because nutrients like phosphorus, potassium, and zinc don't move down in the soil very well. Phosphorus hardly moves at all. What I'm trying to say here is I want you to think about this for just a second. Okay, if things get dry on your farm, where does it dry out first? The top 6 inches or 6 to 12 inches deep? Well, obviously it's going to dry out in the top 6 inches, right? Okay, so let's say you got roots going down 6 to 12 inches deep. That's great that they can pull some water up, but if there are no nutrients there, what good does it do? It's just like for you or me. If I'm hungry and all you do is keep giving me water and water and water, I'm going to lose a lot of weight fast, okay? I'm not, as a crop.
And some would say that's not a bad
well,
idea, Brian.
I'm just trying to say, as a crop, I'm not going to get top yield. If all you give me is water, you've got to give me nutrients too. So place some of your fertilizer deeper. This is a much bigger deal in a drier area of the country because we don't have moisture in that top 3 to 6 inches in enough regular basis to get all the nutrients into the crop all the time.
One mistake that farmers make if they're in areas that are really dry normally, or if they're just having a very dry year, is they start cutting back expenses in terms of pest control. You just cannot afford to have weeds or insects in your field if you're worried about moisture. If you're not getting enough rainfall, it's pretty obvious. If a weed is out there competing for water and nutrients with your crop, it's going to cause even more yield loss than normal on a drought type year. And as far as insects go, if your plant is not getting enough moisture, you can't afford to have a bug out there feeding on that plant. So make sure you're watching out for bug control and weed control all throughout the season to stop moisture loss.
Here's another incredibly important thing. It's reducing compaction. We want to get more roots growing down deeper in the soil, so do everything you can to reduce compaction. If your roots are deep, chances are they're going to extract more water, and like I said earlier, hopefully you've got some nutrients down there too for them. In order to reduce compaction, you can switch to tracks. You can reduce the air pressure in your tires. You also can do some what we call zone building, taking a straight shank and just going down to 18 or 20 inches deep, not only below your first level of compaction, below the natural layer of compaction in your soil as well. So if you don't think you have compaction, do some root digs out on your farm. Just run a knife up and down those spots and find out what's out there. Certainly you can push a probe down in the soil and see what that looks like as well, but I really encourage you, dig a root pit and then you'll see where your roots are going, how deep they're actually getting.
The other thing that I think about when I think about drought proofing my crop is I want to try and have a quick early crop canopy. Maybe that means using some in-furrow fertility, maybe that means an early foliar pass, or it could just mean planting a higher population or a narrower row spacing. The further we move into dry areas in our country, the more benefit we see out of narrowing up those rows, so we shade out that ground, keep that soil cool, and keep the sun from drying the soil out as well.
The last thing I guess I would mention is variety selection. Now, you've heard about drought-tolerant corn and artesian corn and everything else. Yes, there are some traits out there. There are some hybrids out there that are certainly better in drier areas. And also, we've got multi-hybrid planters coming. We already have multi-hybrid drills if you wanted to drill your corn or change varieties with soybeans or wheat or whatever. So in lighter soils in areas on your farm, you can switch varieties when you get there and then change varieties again when you get back to the good areas. These are all things that I think over time are absolutely going to improve our yield. The other side of it that we already have today on most planters is changing planting population. So as we cross fields on our farm, we're going as high as 36 to 40,000 population in the best areas, down to 16 to 18,000 in the very, very sandy areas that are non-irrigated. So we're changing population dramatically just to compensate for good soil versus bad soil.
Well, unless you have irrigation, you can't control the rainfall on your farm. So you have to do everything you can with your farming practices to try to drought-proof your crop. There's certainly no complete drought-proofing out there, but there are a lot of steps you can take. They may not cost you much money to do either to drought-proof your crop.
Like we said earlier though, if you're going to drought-proof your crop, you have to get weed control, especially if you have our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to stop it coming up later in the show.
Dig, lay, and bury drain tile all in one pass with the Crary Tile Pro Plow. The Crary Tile Pro Plow lays tile up to 7 feet deep with boot sizes of 4 to 12 inches. Advantages of installing drain tile to your field provides increased overall yield, improved soil moisture levels, and controls soil erosion. It pays to tile with a Crary Tile Pro. To locate a dealer near you, visit www.crarytilepro.com.
Titan Machinery and Case IH are proud to introduce the Magnum Row Track, a true row crop workhorse that turns like a traditional tractor while floating across your field like a tracked machine. Magnum Row Track outperforms 2-track tractors, and Row Track has a better ride, full ground power in curves and turns, and virtually no rutting and berming. No matter the crop or soil condition, you can start sooner and work longer with Magnum Row Track from Case IH and Titan Machinery. Better solutions.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
My data is mine, not mined.
Mine to share.
Mine to keep.
It's mine when I want it.
Mine where I want it.
And only mine.
My data is mine to analyze.
Mine to put to work.
Mine to control.
It's mine.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
Working in agriculture over the past 3 decades, I saw a need for an accurate way to apply dry product to seed. That's where our Changing Times applicators come in. The CT applicator brush sifts powder into small particles, resulting in proper distribution. Quantities can be adjusted by the speed of the brush rotation. This allows for even and accurate distribution of product. Application at the time of planting can be used with any seed delivery system and saves farmers time, labor, and money. Remember, CT applicators for the changing times.
Your time is valuable. That's why you need a Hagie STS application system. Hagie STS products are designed for precision and efficiency, allowing you to make applications all season long with just one machine. Contact your Hagie rep today.
Corn rootworm is one of the worst insects you can get on your farm, and in our area, for example, we're not only seeing it in continuous corn, we're seeing it in first-year corn as well. So today we want to talk about how we're going to control it, even if it's resistant to some of the BT traits.
Okay, the two worst things about corn rootworm are, number one, that you don't see them until they emerge as adult beetles late in the season. A lot of people really aren't worried about the beetles because unless they're super thick, they really don't cause that much damage. The other thing with corn rootworms is there is no rescue treatment. Even if you do figure out, oh my goodness, I have all these worms feeding on the roots of my corn plant, this is bad, there's nothing you can do about it. You already missed your window of either picking the right hybrid or putting an insecticide down at planting time. So you've got those two things going against it. And for those reasons, Brian, I don't see many farmers really scouting for rootworm. And if you're not aware of how bad the problem is,
yeah, but here's the whole thing. When do people realize that they have an issue with rootworm? When they see lodging out there. Okay, but by the time they see lodging, the rootworms are all gone. They're probably only going to feed on your farm for a month. In our area, we're looking at the month of June. That's basically it, or maybe late May to late June, something like that. And then they're done. Then you're going to have rootworm beetles later in the summer, but they're only in that rootworm stage for a short amount of time. They're doing a tremendous amount of feeding and damage right then. So here's the thing. You've got to do something pre-emerge, either with seed or with insecticide, or maybe the combination, if you're going to have decent control on your farm.
Okay, let's talk about the traits, because there is some resistance to some of the single corn rootworm traits that are out there, and I don't care which single trait you use. With the traits, I just look at it on my farm where I've got continuous corn. And even in our first year corn, I like the Smart Stacks type traits better just because we've got two different sites of action working there that I don't have to worry about resistance nearly as much.
Yeah, and we literally have had resistance right here on our farm in our area. It's a huge issue. So if you're going to go with a single trait BT, it's going down. That's not enough. So a lot of people are saying, well, this year corn's high priced and price of corn isn't that great, so I think I'm just going to cut the traits. I don't need that. We don't really advise you to do that either. If you've got a major problem, especially if you're corn on corn, use two traits, but then in addition to that, use an insecticide. So if you start thinking, well, I'm just gonna go away from the traits. Well, you know what? We had that 10 years ago. How great was that? It wasn't, because the best insecticides, Force and Aztec, they're 90 to 95% control. That's it. If you've got 100 million rootworms out in your field, how good is 90 or 95%? Yeah, it's going to help, but you're probably still losing 5, 10, 20 bushels if you were to get 100% control. And if you get the two trait rootworm hybrids, you know what? You're probably going to get close to 100% control there. The reason why you also want to use insecticide is just to make sure. So you've, in effect, got another mode of action out there. Keep in mind that before that rootworm is going to die, it has to feed on the root.
That's where I was going. For these BT proteins to work, they don't go out into the environment. They're inside that plant. So the bug has to come, take a bite out of those BT proteins and get it into their gut.
A bite out of the root.
Yeah, and that's how those bugs are going to be controlled. The great thing about these BTs is they only control certain bugs. So for environmentalists, they love these traits if they really think about it, because wow, what's the alternative? We use an insecticide that kills almost every bug out there. Well, why do that when we only have certain species that we're really worried about, like corn rootworm? So if we can use that insecticide, we can control those bugs before they take bites out of the root, which is great, because anytime you've got a bug taking a bite out of a plant, you've got a chance for a fungus or a disease to get inside that root.
Okay, so here's what we want you to do. If you've got a major rootworm problem, we encourage you, use an insecticide. Use a 2-trait rootworm hybrid. Do both of those things. And also with that insecticide you're using, use the full rate. Again, this is if you've got a bad problem on your farm. Then follow up post-emerge when you see adult rootworm beetles with some type of control. And most any insecticide is going to control them post-emerge. You're probably going to have to fly this on because it's usually around tasseling time. But if you've, let's say, got a high boy of some sort, you can spray it yourself. But if you do those 3 things, insecticide in furrow, along with 2-traded BT hybrid, along with post-emerge spraying later on, the odds are pretty high. You're going to have outstanding control and outstanding yield.
Okay, I still have 2 more things we haven't even talked about yet, Brian. First of all, what do you think about these seed treatments at high rates? I know they've had flowability problems in the past, and they've improved the flowability of those products.
Yeah, they don't work. I mean, you're talking 50% control. So that stinks. I wouldn't even do it. Don't even waste your money.
Okay, then let's talk about the worst yield robber, weed for weed, in soybeans, volunteer corn.
Yeah, it's not just the worst yield robber. It also is a great host for corn rootworms. Okay, you've got to kill that volunteer corn early. Then you're going to kill the host for corn rootworms. Well, if you want top yields, you've got to get corn rootworms under control, but you also have to control our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to do it on your farm coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
Farming isn't just in the land, it's in you. Take control of weeds like never before. Enlist builds on the Roundup Ready system, combining proven control of a new 2,4-D and glyphosate in Enlist Duo herbicide. Protect what matters without changing the way you farm. Talk to your seed or crop protection supplier today.
Our weed of the week is giant ragweed.
Well, of course, it's one of those weeds that's becoming Roundup resistant across the country. It grows very fast, so we have to get out there early to get it under control, and we have to start with a great pre-emerge herbicide program to stop giant ragweed.
First rate is probably the best herbicide on giant ragweed as long as it's not also ALS resistant, but we encourage you to save your first rate for post-emerge. So rather than using Authority First or Sonic pre, we'd like to spray straight first rate post-emerge. We don't like it used twice during the growing season. What we'd rather see you do is put out one of the PPOs, Authority or Valor, along with Metribuzin in pre-emerge, and as part of our 3 pre program, you can certainly throw out Sonalan, Treflan, or Prowl, but those aren't going to kill giant ragweed.
All right, post-emerge in soybeans, like Brian said, first rate's probably our best choice. I also like FlexStar, and FlexStar has a little bit of residual. Again, here's another product that many guys are using pre. We like to save it for post so we have more tools in our tool belt.
Cobra also has some activity too in soybeans. In corn, we would suggest Verdict down pre-emerge. Balance Flex has good activity. Post-emerge, I really like Status plus Atrazine. Otherwise, the HPPDs aren't too bad. Loudus, Callisto, Impact, Armazon, especially along with ½ pound of Atrazine.
In wheat, I like Sharpen Down and a high rate of Husky Post.
Well, that's it for our Weed of the Week, giant ragweed, but stay tuned. Iron Talk is coming up next.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
What kind of spreader does it take to spread lime? We'll answer that question in today's Iron Talk. The agricultural use of lime sure seems to be on the rise based on conversations I've had with farmers this winter. Raising a low pH back up into the 6s has been a great return on investment on farms across the country. Even in areas where liming has not been historically a very common practice, farmers are embracing it due to the positive impacts on yields that they're seeing. The other reason liming is on the rise is simply to build the calcium levels in various soils, whether it's to loosen up a tight, high magnesium clay soil or to balance out fertility levels in general. Calcium, and especially lime, is in demand. Unfortunately, you need a lime spreader to get the job done. The chain and paddle drive on a regular spinner spreader will not be able to move the product, unless, of course, you're using pellet pelletized lime. For most farms, it may mean hiring someone to spread the lime. On our farm, we're using water treatment plant lime from a nearby city who had contracted with a professional to spread the lime. With today's Iron Talk, I'm Darren Hefty.
H&R AgriPower, your Case IH dealer, has the power to get you more. More equipment. H&R has the best selection, and you can get the equipment that is right for your farm. More technology. H&R AgriPower, the precision farming experts, deliver accuracy within 1 inch 95% of the time. More parts inventory. H&R AgriPower has the area's largest parts inventory, so chances are we have the part you need in stock. H&R AgriPower, your Case IH dealer. The power to get you more.
How will you secure your farm for the future? The Quasar chopping corn head from Capello USA will help. Our design is focused on efficiency, longevity, and reducing harvest loss, making the Quasar the corn harvest solution to bring your farm forward. With hundreds of units ready for immediate delivery, secure your farm's future today. Do it for your farm. Do it for them. Order now. Capello USA. Italian craftsmanship, American grit.
This year's projected U.S. soybean yield will lose over $500 million per point in shrink. Eliminate shrink in your bin. Store grain without lowering moisture content with the AgriDrive Bullseye Temperature and Moisture Controller. The Bullseye monitors air temperature and relative humidity, allowing your fans to utilize the weather's natural condition to maintain your grain at market moisture. Fan run times drastically decrease along with the cost of over-drying. Eliminate shrink today. Call now.
Looking to maximize yield? Quick Roots from Monsanto Bioag is a microbial seed inoculant that allows the plant root to explore a greater volume of soil, the key to higher yields. Quick Roots continues to generate yield response on corn, soybeans, wheat, and more, and is applied to the seed so the live microorganisms go right to work enhancing seedling vigor, increasing the uptake of certain nutrients including NPK, and expanding root volume. Maximize yield on your farm this season. Get Quick Roots today.
Your time is valuable. That's why you need a Hagie STS application system. Hagie STS products are designed for precision and efficiency, allowing you to make applications all season long with just one machine. Contact your Hagie rep today.
Some prefer to invest in fields halfway around the world, in short-term solutions to long-term challenges. At Poet, we're investing in the fields we have right here at home, cultivating communities and growing the local economy, creating new local jobs while we create worldwide energy solutions, helping family farms grow even as they fuel the world. Because we know that investing in a community can pay global dividends. See the world differently with Poet.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
That's all the time we have for today, but if you're looking for more agronomic information, we invite you to tune in to SiriusXM Channel 80. That's the rural radio channel, and you can catch the live Ag PhD radio show each weekday at 2 p.m. Central.
And don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show with another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.
Organic matter improves soil structure and tilth. It improves microbial activity and soil life. Organic matter allows soils to hold more water and nutrients for your crop. To learn more about building it, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.